This is Seasons of Discontent with your hosts Rick Snyder and Matt Combs on the Hogstein Network.
Welcome to Seasons of Discontent, Season 5, Episode 8, brought to you by Rick Snyder's Washington across all social media. And I'm Rick Snyder.
And I'm Matt.
And we're back discussing all things Washington sports and life as part of the mighty Hogstein Network on audio and Rick Snyder's YouTube channel, Rick Snyder's Washington, YouTube on video, which you're watching now, of course. And don't forget to subscribe to Rick Snyder's Washington on Twitter. Get ready to hit 10,000, Matt, if these people come through. So daily videos there for you, too.
There you go.
All right, so the NFL on Tuesday will cut down from 85 to 80, and then a week later to the 53. Kind of weird. There's only 3 preseason games. They still do the same timetable, I guess. But they cut Steven Sims today, I guess, to give him a head start. Not like he needs it with his speed, but I thought Sims had a really good camp. I think he did everything he could, bounce back from a subpar year. It's just that room is just too good for them anymore.
Yeah, that's something we've been talking about since the start. That room is packed. I think they had 13 quality players in that room at one time, not to mention, like the rookies that they brought in and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, right now the battle for the 6th wide receiver is pretty much where it's at. And as far as I'm concerned, it's really down to 2 guys. So it makes sense. Let Steven, they did it with Harmon. Look, you're not going to make this team. You're not part of our regime. We didn't draft you. We didn't sign you. So give them a head start and hope they can cling on with somebody else. Obviously the sixth wide receiver, it's going to come down to probably, at first I thought it was going to be Cam Sims by a lock, but then Antonio Gandy Golden went out and had a hell of a game the other night against the Bengals. So that 6th spot is pretty much, open for business, whoever's willing to go for it.
I think it's Dax Milne. And I wouldn't have said that a week ago.
Really?
He's had a really good week of camp. His name has come out of Ron's mouth. And usually when coaches say people, there's a reason.
See, I figured he'd be practice squad.
I did too, but he can return. I think you keep him over DeAndre Carter if that's what it comes down to. He looks like a nice returner, did well in the preseason game, has been making a lot of plays in practice. And the reason I watch everything that comes out of a coach's mouth every day is you can get little hints on what they're thinking. And he's talking about Dax. And I thought, okay, the kid's got his attention. Doesn't mean he'll make it. But, I think if I could see him getting picked up elsewhere. If you get cut, you can not only sign to someone else's active squad, you can also sign to someone else's practice squad.
Right.
So somebody else can sweeten the deal, even saying, come to our practice squad and we'll move you up in a little bit.
Yeah.
So you take a risk. He's a draft pick. I wouldn't have said it a week ago. I think now he gets the last spot.
And you know what, Rick? I hate to say it. It's a problem, but it's a kind of a good problem to have. There's going to be a lot of guys on that final cut down that are going to be starters or quality players for other teams. It's just there's no room for them on this team. We looked at the offseason as safety being, a point of emphasis and a place that we can upgrade. Well, Landon Collins has come back from this injury. He's flying all over the field, and he looks like the guy that they gave all that money to. I mean, I don't know what lit a fire under Landon, but, whatever Del Rio's doing with him, he is responding. It's really good to see because that was a high-priced free agent that we brought in here. But, man, that was a spot we figured was open for business, and it's pretty much locked up. You've got young guys stepping up that you didn't know would make the team or not. I know I've been really impressed with McTire. That's a guy that if you cut, he's going to get picked up by another team. You talking about Bradley King. Bates has played well at tight end. He's a draft pick, so he was probably going to make the roster anyway. And of course, my guy, Jarrett Patterson. Jared Patterson has cemented himself as the 3rd running back on this team, and there is no room for Peyton Barber anymore as far as I'm concerned. Because Peyton Barber is a diamond.
Yeah, I was looking at the roster today. Everybody was born in the 90s. But Jared Patterson days away from being 2000, being the first one.
Wow.
So, God, 40 years older than Jared Patterson.
But see, the thing is, I mean, look at what Jared Patterson can do. I mean, he had 134 all-purpose yards. He caught, he ran, he did a lot against the Bengals, and he played with the ones and he played with the twos. So, he did get some one-on-one competition there. But a guy like Peyton Barber, if you need a guy like Peyton Barber, you don't have to keep Peyton Barber, because you can find a guy like him, 5-6 games into the season. He's going to be a run-of-the-mill type of guy. I know Ron loves him, but I just don't understand how you cut Jared Patterson. That guy will be on somebody's roster the minute they cut him.
Oh, and you watch a Cincinnati game early, you saw them run to Antonio Gibson up the middle several times. That was to see if he could do something so they don't keep Peyton Barber.
Right.
And anything, on that. So that didn't help the decision any there. I will say they won the game, and they had some nice individual performances, especially in the second half, when it doesn't matter. Right. But I thought the offensive and defensive lines disappointed me.
Yeah.
Offense still doesn't have a touchdown, starting offense, not only 6 chances, but still. I didn't see enough passion and desire out of there. And, it was almost exactly halfway between opening camp and opening day. So hit that dog day phase maybe. But I saw the practice 2 days before and felt the same way, like, man, I don't see the energy out of these guys. And so Cincinnati's not a bad team, defensively at least.
Right.
So, kind of a wake-up call to them of, you got to play better than this. Got no pressure. The offense got no push.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I was not impressed with the offensive line. I thought Fitz looked okay. I think Fitz has pretty much solidified himself as the starter. Heineke still, he still has a tendency to overthrow his guys. He's got a little bit too much zing on that ball, which is not a bad thing, but he needs to learn how to put a little touch on it. Another guy that really impressed me, we didn't play with our starting corners. Kendall Fuller and William Jackson both sat out, and Benjamin St. Juste got a chance to start, and the kid looks good. I'll be honest with you. That kid looks really good. That might be a huge steal in the draft.
Yeah, I liked a lot of what he's done. And in practice, too, we've seen it. I mean, they made a lot of strides in the last 2 drafts.
Yeah.
That's have to do it. You can't do it any other way. Free agency was always meant just to fill in some gaps. It was not meant to build a team.
Right.
Washington tried to do the opposite with Dan Snyder's money. They bought nothing but misery all these years.
Right.
You have to win. And, they did so well there. I would say with Fitzpatrick, I think he showed you what he's kind of like. Made some plays, missed some plays, did okay. But, I didn't see nearly what you wanted. But I don't think you're going to get much more than that. And people were screaming, oh, Heineke, look at 9 of 11. Yeah, but he's playing against the second team, too. Remember, I didn't like that he ran so much, because you're going to get hurt doing that. So, he made some plays with his legs. I still think Heineke is a great number 2.
Yeah.
Either the backup, come in, instant move, instant energy. I think you try it that way. Now, if they get to midseason and they're 2-6 and you got to make a change, then whatever. But for now, I think there. And then, of course, we did see Kyle Allen come in and lead the winning touchdown drive of 31 yards. But at least he was out there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have to name a second, but where you can tell is in practice who's getting some snaps, because number 3 doesn't get much. Number 3 works with the scout team. So there really is a pecking order there. So I think Heineke stays at 2. He's done nothing to discourage that.
Well, and Kyle Allen's still recovering from an injury. So, but yeah, it was, I mean, look, like you talked about, the Bengals do have a very good defense. It's a very improved defense. Obviously Burrow didn't play, but, they kept their weapons in check, and that's what you needed them to do. And like I said, the Washington defense, they have a real chance, I think, to be great. I mean, I don't know how closely you follow Pro Football Focus, but both Jamin Davis and Sam Cosmi have both been ranked number 1 so far in the preseason for their positions amongst all rookies. I don't know what the qualifications are, but I just thought that was pretty interesting because, a lot of people were kind of ragging on Davis after the first game, but I that's a guy that can go sideline to sideline and has a lot of speed and has a lot of length. And that's stuff that you can't teach. You can teach him other things, but you can't teach his speed and his length.
It was interesting. Rivera today spoke about Jamin and said, he's getting used to seeing a quarterback behind center versus in the gun. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
And he said that's a different look, and that's why he's been a little slower. I was surprised he ranked so high because, I don't know, I didn't see anything great that made me go, ooh. But I thought that was really an interesting observation about where the quarterback was that he's used to seeing.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think college football is a lot of shotgun. It's a lot of run plays, amongst the smaller schools. Obviously the big schools have playmakers, but yeah, I mean, where do you go to? He went to Kentucky, right? Yeah. So I mean, he saw some big time games, I'm sure, but a lot of it is a lot of shotgun and a lot of rush offense. So, it's an adjustment, and we kind of expected that, but this is a guy that you've invested heavily in. He was your first round pick, and like I said, his intangibles that he has, or his skin's tangibles, the speed, the length, you can't teach that. I mean, and the knowledge, and just the kids, knowledge of the game and the way that he's been able to pick up the playbook from everything that I've heard. The kid is smart, he's respectful, he's fast, and he can play. He just got to put it all together at the pro level.
Yeah, Sadiq Charles played some. Okay, he played some. But they're trying to figure out, can he play guard? Can he be a guard tackle and give them an extra spot on that offensive line?
Yeah.
Which Barber or maybe or something like that.
Right.
Trying to cheat a spot there. So they were trying to give him something of that. All right. I was on just trolling on Twitter today and had a few extra minutes. And I laid out my rules for crab picking. Number one rule when you pick crabs is what? Let's see if we get this together.
You don't use a hammer.
Correct. No mouse. The poor thing is already dead.
It's already dead. Stop beating it to death.
Yeah, so I put that on there. Unless you're 70 and older and you don't have the hand strength, okay, I'll give you some of that. So I may actually buy some crabs this weekend and do a few video things to show them, because there's a lot of people that don't know how to pick crabs.
Yep.
I've had friends from out of town that come by and they look at them and they go, okay, now what? And you're thinking, what do you mean now what? But I forget, which spices do we use? One spice.
Yeah, we use Old Bay.
Correct. None of this other stuff that people talk about. And it's not butter because it's not lobster.
Right. Right. If you dip your crab in anything, you dip it in vinegar.
Yeah, and I'm not a big one of that.
I'm not a big vinegar fan.
Yeah, it's a Baltimore thing, I think, more. But yeah, I was just going through the list and giving them my rules of crabs.
Now, I will say this, and I know you're going to object, and we have a very short amount of time left. It is okay to use a butter knife while cracking the claws.
If you have to.
There you go.
Don't cut your nails beforehand. It helps that way a little bit. Wash your hands. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and don't eat crabs with a cut on your finger.
Yeah, okay. All right, we're out of here again. I'm Rick Snyder.
And I'm Matt.
See you soon.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Seasons of Discontent on the Hogstye Network.